Hello everybody, JGC Anime here, and today I'm here to review the Apothecary Diaries Season 1. So without further ado, let's just hop right into this. So, what is the story of the Apothecary Diaries? Basically, set in an old, ancient time frame, maybe not that long ago, I don't really know the time dates, but it happened a while ago. Basically, back in the old times, our main character, Mao Mao, gets taken up by some thieves and is sold off as a servant girl to the Emperor, and then gets sent off to one of his many locations, like one of the layers of his palace or whatever, I don't know, where she works with other worker girls and slowly starts to become more important as she reveals more about herself and how she has the skills of medicine and stuff like that due to having skills of an apothecary and stuff like that. And yeah, it's not a great description. It definitely isn't the best, but we're just gonna have to roll with it because there's a lot that goes down in this show, so trying to cover it all in a summary is not easy. So that's just the best I could do at the spot without spoiling too much. So yeah. So going into some spoiler-free thoughts about the Apothecary Diaries, I'll admit, when I went into this show, I wasn't really expecting anything big. I was expecting just a decently fun show that I wouldn't be too into, but at the same time, I would kind of enjoy. Kind of like Frieren, where it's a show that I don't think is as good as people say it is, but it's still good. It's still entertaining. I still enjoyed it. So when I went to the Apothecary Diaries, I expected kind of the same thing. And after watching it, I'm surprised how different they were in terms of the vibe I got from them. Like, I know they're two different genres and stories, but I'm more so going off of my opinion of how it felt while watching each series. And in my honest opinion, I really enjoyed this show. Like, I legitimately really enjoyed this show. I would say it's perfect. There are moments where I feel like it takes a bit too long for the plot to kick in, but at the same time, I really enjoy all the different characters within this world. And Mao Mao, our main protagonist, is honestly the best character on the show. She's funny, she can be serious at times, and she just has a really good story overall where while she's not really the main primary focus, it's more so the people around her are the focus. She's still super interesting with how she goes about things, especially with how crazy she can be sometimes with some of her actions, which I can talk about in the spoiler section, but Mao Mao is what carries this show. Like, if she was not the way she was in this show, it wouldn't be half as good as it is because she is so much fun to watch on screen. Seeing her kind of be a mix of all kinds of things from a comedic character to sometimes a detective type character, like she definitely bounces things really well. And I really enjoy her interactions with all the different characters within this series. And even though I felt like the story had its ups and downs, I still really enjoyed it. Like whenever the show got serious and to the point with what it was trying to tell in terms of its story, I got invested. I was super into it. It was very rare that I found a scene to be boring or meh. Like overall, I just really flippin' enjoyed this show. Is it perfect? No, of course not. As many people have said it and many times I imagine, no show is perfect. But still, I really flippin' enjoyed the Apothecary Diaries, and I am absolutely excited to start up Season 2, since I believe at the time of this video coming out, Season 2 is airing right now. So I'm excited to hop right into that one because Season 1 was incredible. It was great. Did it have its moments of awkwardness? Yes, of course it did. But still, I really enjoyed it. And there are so many things I'd love to talk about, but I can't really dive too much into them right now. But without really spoiling anything, another thing I would like to compliment is just how deep some of these characters go. Like, there are times in the story where they try to place one type of label on a character where you think, oh, it's this type of character, or oh, it's this type of character, but then they flip it on their head and it's just, oh wait, no, they're actually like this. And then you're just like, well, I can't hate them now, or I can't love them now. Like, it just really throws things for a loop. It does a really good job at trying to trick you into thinking and labeling people as a certain way and then flipping it on its head in order to actually be like, yeah, no, you guys are gonna have to think differently because it's actually this, which I really appreciated and really liked, as it definitely added a bit more of a emotional feel to it. Like, I felt very emotional during certain parts of this series, and I was really invested in it. I really enjoyed a lot of moments. But yeah, I guess one more thing I can compliment about the show, well, two things actually, that I could say without spoiling is one, the first opening, I think is going up there as one of my favorite openings of all time. Like, it's an amazing opening, an amazing song with amazing visuals. Even if there's a lot of black screen scenes in there, it's still really good, and I absolutely love that opening. Definitely my top 5 favorite openings of all time. It was so good. Second one was kind of all right, but yeah. The other thing I want to talk about that isn't really a spoiler is that I really enjoyed how the conflict built up, because at the start of the show, it seems like these are going to be more simple, episodic, where it's just kind of like, we're dealing with this thing, then this thing, then this thing. I thought it was just going to be kind of like an episodic format where every single episode, Mao Mao's just trying to solve and help with something. But as the series continues, you slowly start to see it more grow into a serious plot, and things from earlier parts of the story start to connect with each other, and you start to think, oh dang, this is all connected actually, what the heck, this is brilliant. And it's just, I really like the writing on this, and I really enjoy how it connects all these plot threads without it feeling overly forced or anything. Just, it was really good. But yeah, that's all I can really say without spoiling anything. So we're just going to the spoiler section now. Here's the timestamps when the spoilers. If you have seen the show, I recommend sticking around and hear my thoughts. But if you haven't, you should skip to the end so you got any spoilers. But again, if you have seen it, I recommend sticking around and hear my thoughts. So yeah, I'm going to cut to point 5 and I'm going to enter the spoiler section. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so in terms of the characters I would like to talk about, I think the first one I would definitely like to address is Jinshi, who's kind of like this guy that is mostly forcing Mao Mao to do things throughout the story, and I really do like how his character is shown, especially with how at the start he just tries to charm Mao Mao all the time, and she is just not interested. That got a really big laugh out of me. And then you also have how later on he starts to actually fall for her, which is pretty funny. And I just really like how Mao Mao just completely tries to ignore his charm. She's just like, nah, I don't like this, no, stop. It was so good. He was definitely a great comedy relief in some ways, but he's also very serious at times. We definitely gets to delve more into who he was, and they really don't try to hide his actual role. They literally just admit to it after some time where they're just like, yeah, he's this important person. Yeah, good job, you figured it out, even though we weren't trying to hide it that much. But yeah, still very good. I really enjoy a lot of the other characters as well, but I think besides Mao Mao, who definitely is my favorite character from the show, the other one that I think is extremely intriguing has to go to her dad, because Mao Mao's not adopted dad, but her actual dad has a really interesting story that I wasn't really expecting. I can talk about a few other characters as we go along, but this is the one I really wanted to cover because I was surprised at how deep the whole thing with Mao Mao's dad went. I thought it was just kind of a simple, he abandoned the family and the mother didn't actually want the kid, but then it turns out the actual reason behind it was that he had gone on some kind of thing that he was requested on by his father, thinking he'd be back within 6 or so months. However, it actually took him 3 years. By the time he got back, Mao Mao had already been born, and also the woman he loved had kind of lost it as her body was growing weaker and weaker. But dude, that story, I thought it was the best story of the season. There are lots of good stories within this season. That by far surpassed all of it because of just how deep it was and how it made me go from hating the dad, from maybe being a bad parent in some way, only to realize, oh no, he's not a bad parent. He just ended up in a situation that kind of ruined things for his chance at a family, especially because he didn't even realize that the woman he had a kid with was actually completely into him, I believe. At least that's what I think I got from it, or she was actually interested in him, but he thought they were just gonna play games together, and this was just kind of a thing she requested, and he just didn't realize all of that. And it's just, and also I don't even think he knew that she was actually pregnant or not, so that was also interesting. It's just, his story is by far the most interesting to me. I really enjoyed it and thought it had a lot of emotional impact, and it's why it was my favorite. But there are still other stories in the season that are really interesting too, such as the story where the two childhood friends actually set up a whole scheme in order to be together, which I don't know why, but that really hit me in the feels. We don't really dive too deep into it until near the end where Mao Mao starts to come up with theories herself, but once she points that out, it was actually very emotional to me. I felt like, oh dang, they really pushed all of this to be together. That's crazy. And it was just really good, especially with how people thought the girl in the relationship was just sleep dancing, but it turns out she was actually trying to do it to do something for the guy she actually loved, but I don't remember the exact details. But I still think that story was very good. I really enjoyed it. And another story that I definitely think had a lot of great moments that I really wish would get paid off a bit more, but they didn't really, was this story involving a character named Suire. Basically tricked people into thinking she was dead, but actually was alive the whole time, just took some kind of special medicine or something that made it look like she was dead for a while until she came back to life, which I have a theory as to what that might lead to, especially with another character that was introduced later in the season, but I'm not going to go over it in case, that actually does happen, in which case I'd be spoiling it even for myself, but I'm going to say my theory to myself. I just think that maybe she's closer than she appears. I'm not sure if I'm right though. We'll have to see in season 2 if that becomes relevant, but yeah, I'm very curious to see where that might go in the future, since in terms of negativity, that is probably one of my few complaints, that a few plot threads did not get connected in this season. A few of them just haven't really been discussed, just kind of ended, but at the same time, I know they'll probably be wrapped up in a later season, so I'll leave it at that for now, and I hope that in season 2 we'll get to see more of these plot threads kind of be explored and stuff like that. But yeah, as I mentioned, the only other negative I really had, which I've already also said before, is that I felt like there were times where the pacing was a bit wonky. Now, it's almost all perfect pacing in my opinion. I think the pacing for the most part is really good, but there are times where they'll drag scenes on for too long that I felt like we could have just rushed the main plot a bit faster, but it is what it is because I still really enjoyed this season, and while it's not perfect, I still enjoyed a lot of the stories, and even if I give those minor complaints, I still think that this whole story with the Apothecary Diaries is really good, and it gets me so excited to see where Mao Mao's journey goes next, because with everyone else, they are interesting, but Mao Mao herself just carries the show for me. Her comedy and her serious moments, everything is so good. I really enjoyed it, and I like it. I think that Mao Mao as a main character is amazing, and I want to see more of her cat-like antics in the next season because she's just so funny. But yeah, I guess one last thing I would like to talk about besides some of the characters in the season, since there are other characters I could talk about, but I'd rather not drag this on for too long. The last thing I want to talk about is the whole ending sequence of this anime, where after all the story threads have been wrapped up, after Mao Mao's real father buys out his wife that he thought was dead, I think he thought she was dead, but he buys her out, and now things just kind of are the way they are, and Mao Mao, in order to kind of celebrate one of the people from the brothel place she works at, in order to celebrate her mom kind of leaving and stuff like that, she does what's a tradition there by dancing, though she dances on the walls of where she is right now. And that sequence is honestly one of the most beautifully animated dance sequences I've seen in anime. Like, I don't see that many animated dance sequences. In fact, the last time I think was Overlord season 4, which that's the last time, even though that was so long ago, that was the last time I really watched a dance sequence in an anime. And after seeing this one, I was astounded by how beautiful it was. Like, with the constant changing in the shots and stuff like that, with the amazing choreography and all of that, it was so good, and the animation is just incredible, and it was a beautiful sequence, and I really liked it. And yeah, all in all, I really flippin' enjoyed this show. And while I won't say it's one of my favorites of all time, it definitely goes up there. It was incredible, and I'm so glad I gave this show a shot because it was so good. It was so flippin' good, and I'm so excited to hop into season 2. But yeah, that's all I have to say on that. So we're at the conclusion of this video. And one of my final thoughts, overall, I really enjoyed it. I had a really good time with this show, and while it's not perfect, I do think that it is incredible, and I'm so excited to hop into what season 2 has in store, and that's why I give the Apothecary Diaries an 8 out of 10. It may have very small flaws here and there, but still, I did enjoy the story a lot, and I definitely want to see more of Mao Mao's antics in the future. And yeah, that's all I have to say, and thank you all for watching. If you're new to the JGC Anime channel, don't forget to subscribe. I also new anime fans to the channel, and I will see you all around. Peace!